It's good. Okay, welcome to H3. My goodness, it's going to be a little bit of a improv show tonight, but it'll be fine. We are going to seek to inspire, to educate, to enlighten, to entertain. Oh, Brother Scott, his energies lagging just a little. So join me. Take a nice deep diaphragmatic breath, like your stomach extends as you're taking the breath. And then on the exhale, just kind of push some love and attention his way. Two of those.
Lots of those. That's fantastic.
How you feeling? Better.
Okay.
I am. So,
that's good.
I know it works. Let me tell you. Okay, I got quite a. I hope you're good for this.
I am.
I think
I'm good for anything.
Okay, I'm good. Okay.
So I'm going to listen and clean my glasses so I can actually see you.
Okay, great idea. Okay. So,
yeah.
I have had, I think tonight, like 15 minutes ago, was kind of the end, not the end, but a pivotal point in a journey of learning I've been on.
Oh.
Yes. The last little bit here, I spent listening to the lovely Dr. Aimie Apigian, MD, very caring, beautiful human being who is kind of tying in, trauma-informed care and somatic experiencing and, traditional healing type therapies, medication as a bridge to get to, these practices that then kind of allow the drop in the medication and just a normal or a more ease in life kind of a thing. So, and why I kind of bring it up this way is to kind of start back just a little bit. As you know, I was on the victim services for a long, long time. And I was really kind of focused only on the money parts of it, right? Because I didn't think emotionally I could do any of the advocate type work because too hard, it would hurt my soul too tough. There's people that can do it, and my applause goes to them, and I hope they're taking care of themselves because that's hard work, right? Where you have to kind of deal with, promises broken and people hurt and all those kind of things day after day after
violated.
Day. Yeah. So anyways, it's hard work that way. But that led me to my journey about ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. Dr. Folletti released this in 1995, the connection between adverse childhood experiences and negative health outcomes, right? That the more adverse childhood experiences, the more negative, a plethora of negative health outcomes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, rheumatoid arthritis, everything, like almost every possible disease. So many have theorized, many have stated 80% of all our medical care, which is being overtaxed, right? Like I'm not saying taxed as in government taking their money, obviously doesn't work that way, but overtaxed in terms of the demand on their resources because 80% of it is preventable, right? And there's a whole loop of things that if we all adopted would make it easier for us to move through life, okay? So I think that people would agree with that. I don't think that's a big surprise, right?
I don't think that's debatable. I think, that's a good premise to start with.
So a lot of things that are real common that people have challenges with are when you have things like you're running low on energy. And in running low on energy, you want something to make you move up on energy, right? Or you're low in energy and your relationship with your loved ones kind of suffers. Feel up to kind of being there for them kind of a thing, right? So those kind of things happen. You get a little cranky kind of a thing, right? So if you're in that kind of a state, most of us are going to go for something external to ourselves to make us feel better. We're going to want to have something sweet. We're going to want to have something salty. We're going to have something with some fat in it. We're, that kind of thing. And we've been conditioned to want salt, sweet, fat, right? Because the food manufacturers have kind of created the plan that, hey, we're gonna hit the addict centers in every human being's brain. And how do we find this out? We give them samples of this combination of sugar, sweet, and fats, and then when these centers light up in your brains, hallelujah, we hit a market winner, because we start marketing this people and have to have it to keep that addiction going. It's like, for sure, this is how it works. Of course, none of that happens with apples and oranges and bananas and carrots and broccoli. None of it happens with that. It happens in foods manufactured by for-profit corporations that aren't doing stuff for our benefit. They're doing stuff for money.
Although recently produce has been affected by that too, right?
How so?
Genetic modification. I'm thinking of
Oh, yes.
bananas. I was reading an article where basically there's only one type of banana, where there used to be 46 or 67 or something. I'm just making up numbers, but we've genetically altered them so they can be shipped from South America to the North Pole and still be viable. And something's going to come along, and because there's no diversity, it's going to wipe out all the bananas.
You're entirely
guaranteed.
right.
Yeah.
Huge problem, right? That we're monocrop in everything. And in monocrop in everything, we're destroying the diversity of the soil, the diversity of the food, the nutrient density, and the nutrient diversity that we're going to put in our bodies, right? And in so doing, we're shorting our bodies, things that are happening, right? That's how it works, right? So anyways, where was my story here?
You were talking about salty, fat, sweet,
yes,
and how we're all getting programmed to want those things.
Exactly. And so you got to do that. And maybe you need something a little bit stronger than that. Maybe it's a alcohol or a joint or a pill or whatever, right? Maybe you need something stronger than that to get you out of that state. So now, if in fact, and this makes sense, and what also makes sense is that trauma, all of the little slights and things that occur to us all, right? And some of us have little of that, and some of us have huge, right? So, but all of it, if it does not get expressed, if the emotion related to that event does not get expressed to another caring human, who, even if they can't do anything about it, says, I see you, I feel your pain, so sorry that you're here, that this is what you have to experience, right? Even if that's all they can do, that by itself allows that emotion to be expressed. And in so doing, the long-term fixation, tightness, stiffness, pain that occurs doesn't occur because it's been released. But if it hasn't been released, i.e. the person was too young to be able to use their words, or too scared to be able to use their words, they'd get smacked if they said something, or too intimidated to kind of get that exposure out there, kind of a thing, to express that emotion is trapped in your body. And being trapped in your body, it impairs your ability to relax totally and to feel safe in your body. And then with that lack of safety and connection to your body, then you always feel that you need something external to get you there.
Mm-hmm.
But so we all have these trauma stored in our body, and this trauma stored in our body impacts us in negative ways. There was a book, I think it's 50 years ago, called The Divided Mind by Dr. Arnold Sarno. And Dr. Sarno had all these cases of people who would have pain in their body. And that pain, he said, was given to them by their brain to protect them from an emotion that they could not deal with, or an emotional situation or something that they could not deal with. And that was the way that he expressed it. And that makes sense, right? So he kind of put it that you're going to experience this pain, and then that's to prevent, just to kind of give you something to be your mind to be occupied on, so you don't have to think about this trauma and how you were betrayed and how you were hurt and how you were lied to and how, that should have never happened to me, and those kind of things, right? Which are all real. Like, I'm not in any way discounting people's experience. There's some people, and you know this very well, our Indigenous brothers and sisters, the trauma, the infliction of, we're going to poison them, We're going to put them on the crappiest land. We're going to control all their activities. We're going to give them no option that they have to just accept food that we're going to give them that's crap. We're going to take their kids forcibly away from them and break the bond between the parents and that child. If you were that dad and they're ripping your 5-year-old Sabrina out of your hands, Sabrina and Katrina, what would that do to you?
I was going to say, they're not going to get the kid. Somebody's not getting out of that situation.
I understand. Like you might do your best, but if there's 8 of them and one of you, they're taking your kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
and so what is, if that's the situation you're in, and that relationship condoned by, the spiritual, police, and government organizations that were in charge of this country, right? How horrible would that have been for you as a person experiencing that, right? It would have been soul crushing. You'd want to go over into the corner and die. Am I right?
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
And that child that got taken away and put in an environment where they were beaten and told that they couldn't speak their language and told they're stupid every day and smacked and sexually assaulted and the horrible things that those kids went through, never, in some cases, never a kind word, never a, hey, go Johnny, go, none of that kind of stuff, right? So all of that, and little Johnny, he can't express, he doesn't have anybody to tell, right? That Dr. Gabor Mate, that's when he says he has about his newest book, The Myth of Normal. And he's just such an amazing man and talented writer. And like the older he gets, the better he gets. It's just incredible. So this book, I think he just wrote it when he was 77, from 72 to 77, I think it took him. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And the things that if he's discussing this kind of things, he usually has a live audience and he engages with them, right? And so he'll say to somebody, somebody will say, well, I got addicted. First of all, the premise is everybody who has a substance use disorder, an addiction, everybody has had trauma in their life, period. That's hard stop, Gabor Mate, MD. That's what he says. He might have somebody in the audience who says, I was addicted to cocaine and I didn't have, he says, come up and talk to me. So the guy, Bill comes up and he says, all right, Bill, well, can you tell me about a time, or you don't have to tell me, just can you think of a time when you felt dismissed, unsafe, that your identity was in question or your physical security was in question, or you were made to feel very small or stupid? He says, well, yeah, of course. I said, okay, who did you tell? Nobody to tell. So there's your trauma. That's it, right? He was abused and he had nobody to release that emotion. And in so doing, that emotion is within him, right? And trapped within him and impairing his ability to get to this present moment and to feel his body at its best, how it moves easy, thinks easy, just to move with ease. So, which brings me now to this course that I just finished. Is today Thursday? Yes. Yeah. I just finished this course today. Oh my goodness, this has been a milestone day today. I just finished this course called Understanding Complex Trauma with Dr. Peter Levine and Dr. Diane Poole Heller. That's it. Anyways, it is all about Dr. Peter Levine being the shaman he is, and his empathetic ways that he meets these people who have experienced these horrible traumas in their lives, and that these afflictions have been impacting their health and their enjoyment of life for decades in some cases. And he meets with them and he just is a very empathetic listener, and kind of, I don't think they have to get really specific with details, but their background history, they do have details that they often share. And these are live, they just record them and share them, right? Ray's story is one of them, a very, very powerful story. Anyways, Dr. Peter Levine works with these folks and is a very empathetic listener. And, and then through using their bodies, helps them release that trauma that is stored in their body. So kind of coaches them, guides them through a process to use their bodies to release that stored up trauma, spent up emotions, etc. And in so doing, the safety of being at home and in your safe home here, your body increases, and in that safe state, you can heal very easily. You have more enjoyment, things come easier, pleasure's a more common sensation in your life, as an example, those kind of things. So I love this whole thing about how you release this. And then it occurred to me, I have inadvertently, just through the grace of Sister Serendipity and Sister Synchronicity, who guide me, and oh, they are so lovely to me. They have guided me to where I have actually been a somatic experiencer for like 4 years and didn't realize it. And why I say that is because somatic experiencing is very closely tied to Dr. Stephen Porges' theory of the vagus nerve called the wanderer, because it connects from your brainstem all the way to your taint, all of your internal organs, your heart, your microbiome through your intestines are all connected via that, right? Amazing, amazing thing. But it doesn't just go one way. It doesn't just go, from the brain to the vagus nerve to the organs. It goes the other way, right? It goes from your organs up into your brain. And so you then can you can influence greatly your current energy level, your current mood, and your focus in this current moment, just by using simple movements of your body to do that. The first movement is super easy. It's stand. If you're not standing, stand. If you are standing some, stand more. Stand 70% of your waking day. 70% of your waking day. It is an amazing thing because it is creating a ventral vagus response. Wait, I didn't go through the 3 responses. Let me talk about the 3 responses. You've probably heard this before because I've talked about it before. So this vagus nerve, the wanderer, has this connection you can influence from your bodily movements to influence your thoughts and your emotions and your ability to be in this present moment, right? So that being the case, then, anytime that you felt, oh, I don't feel exactly the way I should feel right now. I'm going to reach for that chocolate bar or that bag of chips or that hit of cocaine or that caffeine or that things that are not going to be helpful for your body, right? Things that aren't going to be helpful for your body. So you're going to do that. But instead of doing that, you stand. You stand. That's it. You stand. And then if you want to add Dr. Peter Levine's go-to move that he does all the time, oh my goodness. Are you going to do this with this breath with me, Scott? You're going to love it.
Oh, I am. I'm excited. Right. I'm listening. I'm good.
All of the people that he treats, his go-to move that you can't screw up, can't hurt anybody, can only do good things. Can only do good things. And if somebody says, oh yeah, it didn't work for me, I don't understand what's wrong with their body, because for I think most people, it's like amazing. So here it is. By the way, it's best if you do this naked. I have a shirt on, of course, but it is best if you do this naked, because you do not want your stomach. I want your stomach to expand on the inhale, expand like it sticks out as on the inhale. So it's best to do this standing, and then a nice inhale, a beautiful, pleasurable inhale all the way, and your stomach expands as you do it. And then as you exhale, your stomach moves in. So it's exhale or inhale.
So now when you breathe in, your stomach's supposed to go out or in? I think I have it backwards.
When you're breathing in, your stomach goes out.
So
and then when you're exhaling, think of your stomach or your diaphragm as a bellows, right? When you're pushing in, you're breathing, you're bringing your stomach in, and then that is expelling your air. And then if you are a singer like me, then you use that exhale, that long, lovely exhale that's coming from the bottom of your diaphragm, and you can kind of sustain notes or change things or add in stuff because it just comes so easy. You got lots and lots of breath there, right? So, okay. So here's the finished part. Now the noise on the exhale is voo. Voo. Got it, Scott? I'm going to do it. You see if you're going to join me, okay? You don't have to. I'm making you feel uncomfortable.
I'm in. I just couldn't help thinking of A2 Brute. It's not like that. It's Brute.
Okay. Voo. Voo.
Do you want to hold it as long as we can?
Oh my goodness. I just about have to have a nap. Super, super relaxing. Oh my goodness. But here is what it's doing. It's doing the same thing that singing does for me. Singing, it might take me 20 minutes to get this response. Doing that voo thing is like 3 breaths, right? It gets you into a ventral vagus response. So the 3 responses. The first one is the dissociative response. Basically, a being, because I can give you the example of a mouse getting caught in the jaws of a cat. It looks like it's dead, right? The mouse or the cat puts the mouse down to shoo off another competitor or something, and all of a sudden the mouse jumps up and bolts, right? Wasn't dead. It was having this dissociative response. And a dissociative response is basically where the mind and body separate. The mind just floods the body with painkillers, endogenous opioids, knowing it's going to face an overwhelming force. And that overwhelming force might result in his death, but it's in a kind of relaxed, disassociative space more so. If the survival happens, then the idea is in the wild with wild animals, they shake it off and they shudder and they have kind of a very violent reaction, and then they just go on their normal lives, right? They have some kind of way to release that energy from that. And Dr. Peter Levine shows when they shoot with a tranquilizer, Arctic bear, a white bear, Arctic bear, that's what they're called, right? And he's running along and they're from the helicopter and putting in a big vial thing and the bear goes down. And then they go and they're standing right there when he comes out of the anesthetic, right? Or the tranquilizer. When he comes out of the tranquilizer and the bear's like flipping out and doing all kinds of stuff, but that is its way to discharge that enemy and that energy, right? That from this overwhelming force, right? So that's a dissociative response. And in those kind of responses, if there was a trained professional who could help that person with that very traumatic thing they might have experienced to kind of guide them into a way to kind of take that in bite sizes kind of a thing and deal with that, release that, their life is going to get immeasurably easier. So that's a dissociative response. Then there's a dorsal vagus response. And a dorsal vagus response is basically where, and this applies for, I think, for most people, you don't feel safe. You're concerned, you're looking out for the threat, you're worried about what's going to happen next, right? Those kind of concerns. And then with that, you don't get in a very relaxed state. You're not safe, right? Dr. Aimie describes it as that you feel shut down. You know, you don't want to let any more hurt in, basically. Yeah, hurt, I'm going to just kind of stay this way. I'm not going to be open to new things. I'm going to stay this way, closed, so that I don't get hurt anymore, kind of a thing, right? To minimize the hurt. And sure, that's makes sense. That's a reaction you'd want to have, right? You've been hurt, you don't want to have risk having more hurt. Then there's the ventral vagus response. Are you ready for this, Scott?
I'm ready. I'm excited.
Oh, a ventral vagus response is where you are using your body and it's telling your brain, hey, brother, you're totally safe. You're fine. You're healthy. You're healing. Go ahead. Whatever has to be fixed, you got a lot of healing energy happening there, brother. Send it around. Where do you need it? Oh, that right knee's a little sore again. Okay, send it a little bit of love. Lube that up a little bit. Make that feel a little bit better. Send some of those endogenous opioids over there, please, right? Because we can make all kinds of stuff. Like we're a pharmacy, right? This is what we want. What are the sensors? The endocannabinoids, I believe they are the receptors for cannabis. Yeah, so you don't have to externally take it; you can internally make it, right? All right. Well, that's why those receptors are there. Well, it's probably there because this is also a plant that's existed in nature for tens of thousands of years that people used, right? As in mushrooms as well, correct? Like, so those kind of healing agents have been around forever. Have I told you about my indigenous friend that is going to help me become a mushroom helper person?
No.
Oh my goodness. His name is Abisomaga, and he's a super, super interesting guy. He's a Blackfoot man. His white name is William Singer III, and he is reviving such an important thing. The importance of plants and mushrooms and herbs and roots, etc., and how the healing properties are right there in our backyard, right? And that you knowing what to use, then you could use that as a natural healing type agent that was used tens of thousands of years ago, right? And so it's not like nobody did any double blind studies and blah, 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 because there was no money in doing a double blind study on something you can go pick out in the wild, right? Who would do such a thing?
Right.
But knowing the placebo effect that drugs have, the drugs only have to beat the placebo effect by like a couple points to be called a drug effect. How does that make sense, right? Like, this makes sense to you, the placebo effect and the impact? Yeah, it's bizarre.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So
money talks though, right?
Yes, it does. But anyways, he's going to teach me how to be a mushroom farmer, mushroom aficionado, that I could safely identify and choose mushrooms that would be beneficial for me or my family or my friends, and that I can share that way. And I expect if I get like good at it and confident that I'm not going to poison anybody, I'm going to go and work with the Lethbridge Food Bank, and I'm going to bring them my bounty of extra mushrooms.
Nice.
And then also, I'm going to perhaps do a little, hey, here's how you make mushroom soup. Let me show you. Here's how you make a pita with baked mushrooms and peppers and onions, and you throw it in this pita wrap with a little tahini sauce. Here's where, you know what? I think I could be of help that way.
We used to eat puffballs as a kid.
Yeah,
I grew up in a ranch, as you know, and on pastures. Most people know puffballs after they've dried up and you can squish them and they go poof, right? But before that, they're these big, firm white balls, and you can pick them and slice them into steaks, fry them in garlic butter, and they are to die for. They're wonderful. Yeah.
I know.
Loved them as kids. Yeah.
So do you know that you can cultivate mushrooms? You can encourage their growth. Makes sense, right? You get the spores, and then you bring the spores to an environment that the mushroom likes. And for every mushroom you plant, it creates mycelium. It like makes more connectivity with mycelium, this like interconnected network that connects every living thing right throughout the planet. For every footstep you take, it's like 300 miles of mycelium underneath your foot. regenerates
Wow.
the store, or regenerates the soil, I should say, and in growing the mushroom, brings the carbon in, sequesters the carbon. 70% of it is sequestered, 30% is used for the growth and the development of the mushroom or its infrastructure. And so in the process of being a mushroom farmer, and like I'm one, that we could be millions of us, right? Millions of us. So I'm one who's going to figure out how to do this, and it's going to be slick. I'm going to grow mushrooms. I'm going to enjoy them. I'm going to have a more nutrient diverse food supply that I'm going to watch grow, have the satisfaction of watching it grow. And I'm going to be healthier for the thing because I'm out in nature more. I'm hanging out, growing mushrooms. I'm sharing that bounty with my brothers and sisters locally. It's going to be a beautiful thing.
You can sing while you're growing your mushrooms too, Al.
Hey, I'm out in nature singing. It can't get any better than that, Scott.
Get any better? Yeah, I love mushrooms. I'm
Yes.
with you. I'm down with this one.
Yes. So now also Dr. Zach Bush. Oh my goodness. Dr. Zach Bush. Do you know him? Have I talked about him before?
You have. Yeah.
He has the solution for every problem in the world. Every problem in the world, Dr. Zach Bush knows how we would proceed to get it done. And a lot of it, and he's brilliant. He's a polymath, and to hear him describe the intricate relationships within our body and how everything works together, and these 50 trillion cells work together with these 500 virus and bacteria, mycelium and microbes and blah, 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 all these things, and they all coordinate to keep us alive, to be able to keep this beat happening and keep that miracle of breath coming into our bodies. And he explains it eloquently, so beautifully. Is just amazing. But a lot of how he is going to serve, he says we're at the precipice. We're going one way or the other, right? So there's been 5 mass extinction events. This is number 6. And so we got like maybe 5 years to turn the ship around. Maybe. Some say no, that's already done. We're just on the countdown kind of a thing, right? But Dr. Bush, I hope I described this correctly, and you grill me if I don't get it right. But basically, he says, if you think of past extinction events, dinosaurs went extinct, right? And dinosaurs, you think how big they were and the vegetation they would have had to have. It was huge, right? I mean, they would eat tons and tons of green stuff a day, right? With being the size of them, right? But the environment, biology, our world, the life-giving source, it says we're going to live. That's the prime thing, is we're going to live. And when a civilization is going in an extinction mode, it just spews out all kinds of alternatives, saying, oh, this part is ending, but let's give out a whole bunch of other options. Whatever lives kind of a thing, right?
Nature will find a way.
Nature will find a way. Exactly. And the best adapted you are, the better. By the way, I got to interject this with a thing about vagus nerve that Dr. Peter Levine credits Charles Darwin as identifying the vagus nerve first. I think he called it the neogastric nerve, if I recall. But Charles Darwin documented in 1870 something as what would be the connection that you would experience heartache. What would be the connection that you would experience anguish, and that kind of a thing where you have that visceral reaction, right? That kind of a deal. Okay, so where was I in my story here?
You were talking about how when we're facing an extinction event, how nature sort of opens up all these opportunities.
Yes. And do you know how these opportunities get delivered?
Tell me, brother.
By way of viruses. So
Amazon? No.
Viruses. So we've all got an upgrade. We've all got an upgrade to our operating system by the virus coronavirus. Right. And that upgrade is a good thing because now we see how we are all connected. We understand that we have to look out for each other. We understand that your health is important for me and my health is important for you. And we're all breathing the same air. We're all drinking the same water. We're all, eating produce from the same places. And those sources have to come to us pure so that our bodies can get good nutrition out of them. Okay, maybe I'm going to interject and tell you about the Little Nicaragua Coffee House. Do you want to hear about that?
I do. Yeah.
Hey, mark my place. We're coming back to it.
Okay.
Little Nicaragua Coffee House is on Stafford Drive, just behind Carline Cardinal Muffler, the long, reputable car replacement place, corner of 3rd Avenue and 9th Street, 4th Avenue, 9th Street, right around there. But Little Nicaragua Coffee Shop, they get their beans from a farm in Nicaragua. And I think they're married, the lovely couple that run it. And I think it is their uncle's farm in Nicaragua. So the beans come here, they get roasted here, and then they get sold here. Beautiful little, nice little coffee shop, beautiful family, great place. I bought a whole bunch of their little 12-cup little bags of their medium roast. I should give you one, Scott. I got them.
I'd love one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really, really good coffee, really nice people. Anyways, what brings joy to my heart is you go there, the people that are running it are, making a living from it. It appears seems like they're doing good. And that the people that they're getting the coffee from are having a good life too, that they got enough, or at least they have enough money to pay their bills and have a roof and if they need medical care and, those kind of things. Right. And maybe do something fun once a week or whatever, that they have enough to kind of have opportunities for a good human life, right? Connecting with other human beings and being of good health and being able to do their work and do what they need to create an income, but then also be of value to other people, right? So that's I think what that's what it kind of relates to for me. So
that's what the dream is for most of us, right?
Yeah.
Or we hope.
Don't you want to know, when you go, do you buy the fair trade produce in this grocery store?
I haven't been grocery shopping in 13 years.
No, you haven't. I go, and now I'm just buying the fair trade. And why? Because I want to know, and who knows if it's all done correctly, but I don't mind if it costs me a little bit more money. So buy the fair trade stuff with the belief that somewhere the person that made these bananas or grew these bananas and cared for them and, put them gently in the basket, didn't throw them in the bed of the truck, somebody who cared for those bananas so I would have a nice banana to enjoy. I want to make sure that they got fairly paid, that they have, money in their genes and they can have a good life, right?
So just as an aside, Al, on that, and I won't let you lose your place. That's bookmark 2 we're going to go back to. But what about, as you said, good food costs more, and it shouldn't, but it does. So, and I know a big thing when my parents were divorced and mom was working 3 jobs, it was really hard for her to buy decent food. Like fruit was a big luxury. Starchy, empty kind of calories were what we could afford. Is there anything that people that are in that situation can do nowadays? Inflation's going up, groceries. Fleur brought home $60 worth of groceries, and it was like one tiny little bag.
It is like you're connected with me. Thank you for that cue there. That's perfect. Oh, I don't know what it's even called, but it's on Netflix and it's about eating plant-based or eating healthy. And they have a doctor at some, like in Chicago or something like that, has patients who are working poor kind of folks or not on the high end of the income spectrum, right? And they come in and they got all kinds of health problems because they're eating McDonald's and they're eating Big Whoppers and they're, blah, 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 and buying the processed foods and the thing. And then he says, he's the doctor, and he writes prescriptions, say, go get a big ass bag of beans, go get a big ass bag of rice. And then here's the things how you prepare this. Add these veggies. Problem solved. And so people that are diabetic because they're eating fast food and burgers and stuff like that, and it's mostly to do with their sugars is the problem, right? That's causing the diabetes and isn't contributing to their nutrition. This way, it's large carbohydrates, and people who have been diabetic say, oh, I can't do that. Bullshit. I'm not a doctor. Don't do anything because of what I just said. Don't do anything of what I just said, but here's my belief. My bride and I took this thing called the Mastering Diabetes program. In that, you checked your blood sugar. Neither of us have diabetes, but we checked our blood sugar to see when we ate something, what the impact was. And it was very interesting, right? I could eat all I really eat are carbohydrates and fruits and vegetables. Basically, that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's one thing oh my goodness, I'm jumping around here a little bit.
It's okay. I'll bring you back.
The Netflix thing about eating the food made the point that carbohydrates are the perfect fuel for your brain. So if you have the perfect fuel coming to your brain, and you get your executive function firing at its optimal, you're going to make good damn decisions is what's going to happen, right? And then you can also be in a higher energy state because the signals about where you are and the frequency you're at, the energy you're at, that's kind of a two-way loop, right? Your brain is telling your body and your body's telling your brain, right? And if you do a boo breath, or you sing a song, or you do a yoga move, or you whatever to experience that ventral vagus response, then you can use that ventral vagus response to generate the healing energy it induces anywhere else in your body, or use it for creative purposes, or share it with others. I think it works like this. We are all connected to the same source of life-giving force, right? And that source for life-giving force is why we have this beautiful rhythm in our chest, and why we experience that miracle of breath entering our body. And then we all have that. The better we tune this body temple we have, the better we treat this body temple we have, the better it will produce results for us and allow us to move through life with ease. And how is that? When the trauma is released and no more trauma is being added in, and the old trauma is being released, those old pains and restrictions and limitations and negative thoughts and bad self-talk, all those things just go away, and you start talking to yourself sweeter. You start treating yourself sweeter. You start saying with gratitude, I have this amazing body temple that I have for this one human journey where I hope to make a significant difference in people's lives. How am I going to do that? I think I got that figured out. And so with this whole process, then you basically kind of live with ease. So you take these restrictions, you release them through these somatic experiencing techniques or practices or things that people have been doing for tens of thousands of years, right? You look at, past groups of people. Dr. Gabor Mate, he talks about how until 150 years ago, how did we live? We lived as groups of 40 to 60, and then we were very intimate. We were very supportive of each other. We cared for each other. If there was, 5 kids, that 5 kids had 35 caregivers who would pick them up or him or her up and talk to them and play with them and stop and have a song with them or whatever, that kind of a thing. And in that environment, these kids grew up in a way that they had kind of a meaning and purpose for every step of their lives, right? Where I hope I'm not going to insult any of my Indigenous brothers and sisters. That's not my intent. But, there's the Brave Rock Society and the Eagle Eye Society and not the right names, but these steps in their evolution, right? And what at the end of it is that they were like a more further contributor, a better developed and more further contributor to the benefit of their community, right?
Going back, taking that idea, Al, how we grow into that, and take us back to what you were talking about, how when we're heading to an extinction event, that opportunities present themselves. Can you bring those two ideas together? Because I think we want to hear more about what opportunities are opening up to us and how we can use our tuning of our temple to take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So Dr. Zach Bush, much smarter than I, Dr. Zach Bush says that when we're nearing an extinction event. Biology, Mother Nature, Source, they say, hey, we're gonna be here. Like biology is going to be here, the mycelium is going to be here, the mushrooms are going to be here, this stuff's going to be here. But I guess these beings, they're burning this place up. They're pooching it for themselves and everybody else. So it starts throwing out all kinds of different options for life to continue, right? Because I mean, we're sort of after how many our evolution, right, where we started and we separated from the Neanderthals. At that point, like we coexisted the same time as them, and then we were smarter, and then we survived and they did not, if my understanding is correct. And we all came from the sub-Sahara area, right? And in there, we all originally had black skin, and some of us over time and through evolution, we came to be lighter skinned. And when we started to navigate away from the equator, then that lighter skin was an advantage because we could still absorb a lot of vitamin D from the sun, where our black brothers and sisters could not. So they suffered, poor health and poor ability to continue on their line, basically, is what happened. So then that's kind of okay. So that's where we came from. Now we've been inoculated with a new virus that is intent to help us, to change us so that we can survive. And it has given us the collaborative gene, the collaborative spirit, the collaborative, come on, we got to do this together here. It's possible to fix everything we got happening. We just got to do it together, right? Stop killing everybody for those that are doing so, and start to deal with
you and I haven't killed anybody.
No, exactly.
Not directly.
Well,
anyway.
I'm pretty sure Putin probably watches our show, Scott. That's what I was getting
at. Yeah, he's responsible for a few, for sure.
Yes. Anyways, oh yes, okay. So if that is the case, and one of the common limiting things that we have in optimizing our ease with functioning in the world, and in optimizing it, that means that we can be in all needs met. We got our needs met, we're all cool, and then anything beyond that we have to give, right? So that flow of that energy source to us, that we share that beat and that breath, we can get that signal a lot easier, a lot stronger if this body temple's running nice. And when it's running nice, we can get that signal coming here. And the great news is we can push it out there, right? So we can connect with the brothers and sisters in our life and try and make life better for them. Maybe it's only listening. Maybe it's so maybe it's just an empathetic listener. Maybe it's a kind word. Maybe it's a little bit of encouragement. Maybe it's just seeing them and saying, and being curious and open and accepting and loving towards them. Maybe it's trying to make them smile or laugh. Maybe it's complimenting them on, hey, that's a very cool name, Sanjana, or whomever. So
Bob, whatever.
Say that again.
I said, or Bob. I mean, it doesn't.
Oh, Bob. Yes, it could be Bob, not Sanjana. Yeah. Not all baristas are Sanjanas. Okay. So, where am I, Scott, in my thing? Or have we discussed that about the mutation parts, the inoculation that is?
You were just getting there. You were just saying that we've changed, and we're getting more in tune with our giving and sharing and taking in. But also we can give back, put out there, is what you said.
So. Yes, if we get this working to its optimum, it's going to be the best receiver of that signal, and then could easily extend the need that I would have for that much energy and love and compassion. And so therefore I can send it on out to others. Don't have to be in the same room, same space, but that's nice. A hug is a beautiful thing. I'm a big hugger. I'm really a good hugger. Just in case you see me, I'm getting a hug. I'd be happy with that. Okay, so, but I figure here now the culmination on this, I was telling you about Dr. Aimie there, right? And where, the dorsal ventral response is kind of like a shutdown
Yeah.
kind of a thing, right?
Protect yourself, armor up.
Ventral vagus response is a love and expansive and embracing type thing, that you love yourself, you love others, your talk to yourself is very sweet, and you can achieve this state just by using your body through that VU breath, as an example, through singing a song, through humming. You like to vocalize, right? And
I
that's
do all
been,
the time. Yep. Drives
yeah,
people nuts around me, but yep.
you know what? That's, they got to deal with it. That's what you need. Take it, do it, right? I mean, don't be, I try and be a little mindful of the room. It's like sometimes I sing at the grocery store and I try and keep my volume nice and low, right? So in the past, I did not. I was kind of obtrusive, but I'm trying to be more respectful of that. Did I tell you that I have a psychiatrist, right? Did you know that?
Yep.
Yeah. So Dr. Roger Rampling, he diagnosed me as being hypomania. And so I don't know what happens if you get to mania. Is that a good thing? Is that a promotion? I don't think you want hypermania, but maybe
All right.
mania is like that's the highest level.
In Japan, mania is sort of a quasi good thing, right? It just means you're really passionate and obsessive, but in a sort of positive way. So, yeah, it's a good way. I had
Yeah.
that same experience this week, actually. I had a medical appointment with my doctor over the phone. He's been my doctor now for, I don't know, 10 years or something. And we were going through all the stuff I needed, refilling prescriptions and things. And I said, doc, the last couple of months, my mind's really been racing, right? Like my previous doctor put me on, I don't know what it is, to just sort of keep my brain from revving too high.
Mhm.
And I was telling Dr. Collins that last couple of months, my brain's been kind of on runaway, right? And he's like, yeah, I've known you a long time. He said, and I'm pretty sure I know what that is. He said, but it usually shows up in much, much younger people. And I'm like, oh yeah, what's that? And he's sort of like beating around the bush, and I'm like, yeah, okay, but what is it? And he's like, well, yeah, but it really, it should show up when you're young, not when you're your age. And then he dropped the alphabet on me and said, well, I'm pretty sure you have, AD, what is it, HD,
ADHD.
Yeah. And I laughed because, of course, as a kid growing up, they were always, and when I grew up, they didn't have the alphabet. They just said you were a bad kid, you had trouble focusing, you didn't live up to your potential, you're a dreamer, a wanderer, all of these great little nicknames. And I said, is there some medication or something I should be taking for that? What should I do? And he said, yeah, we can give you medication. He said, the problem with people your age is that Scott will be gone. He said the people around you won't even recognize you anymore. He said most often, with children, they're still developing and growing, and people, are adjusting to them. But he said somebody your age, if we medicate for that, Scott will be gone. And he said, it's really hard on relationships. He said often, there's breakups and divorces and all sorts of things because you're no longer who you are. And that made me really think about what you were saying, in that, we have to be able to express who we are. And it made me really wonder about the kids that are, putting on this medication. If it would take away from me who I am, then it must do. I mean, just because they haven't yet, formalized their personalities, certainly there's got to be a detriment to that. So I think in line with what you're saying is that there's lots of opportunities for us, but we also have to be careful that we're not pulling in things that are limiting us or hurting us or taking us down the wrong path, right? Which I thought was great. My doctor said, yeah, we can give you medication that'll stop that racing and stuff going on in your head, but you've learned to live with it. And that's what you were saying about people around you get used to it. The people that love me are used to it. I make noise, I bounce around, I do all sorts of things.
Good.
Like you say, and that's what he said. Your friends will be your friends, whether you're, if a stranger says, "Oh, that guy's nuts," who cares?
That was good. That was good advice. That was good, responsible medicine. That Dr. Aimie Apigian there, she would say as well, I think, that medication is great for symptoms that are like unbearable, but once you have the root causes resolved, then the symptoms will lessen, and as will the need for the medication, right? So
Yeah.
yes. And
And
she
I
has
think what you were saying too.
where the situations, basically the overwhelm that we all face at times in our lives, is about doing too much for too long, or not having enough for, what is it? Too much for too long, and too little for too late, too little for too long, too little for too long, and too much. It's like that.
I got you. I got you there.
Okay.
So we're running out of town, buddy. But you've given us. Can you give us some takeaways? So the first takeaway is
Yes.
that the somatic, and forgive my pronunciation, but semantic, well, not semantic,
Somatic is Peter Levine's invention about using your body to influence your mind, your thoughts and emotions, and then basically create a very healing state where your body is safe, at home, and heals, and you actually have healing energy that you can use for your purposes or share with others.
and the
That part
basis
of
of that is
use your
breath
purposes,
and
share with
sound.
others, Dr. Levine might not have said that. I might have added that in, okay, just so you know.
Sure, but the basis of that is sound and breath, right?
Yes, sound and breath. And now
So we don't have to pay anything. We don't have to invest in anything. Yeah,
you've got it. You've got it. So the things are standing, singing are ways to engage your somatic experiencing. And the more you do either of those or both of those, the better you are. The better,
chanting, humming, making
the more
noise.
that would sound like a judgment. I didn't mean the better you are. I meant the more optimal
The
you
better
are.
off you'll be. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
The more optimal you will be. Yes, exactly. So
yeah.
I believe, and I would like some objective proof of this, but I believe I have reversed my biological age by a bunch.
Oh, sure. Yeah. As a close friend, absolutely, no question.
Yeah. So I'm going to take this test. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. I think it can happen in Lethbridge. It's a electromagnetic bioresistance test, and it basically measures three things about your body, muscle mass and water content and something else. Can't remember. And it gives you a good indication. He said the doctor that was doing it is a plant-based doctor, and he's just like a beast. Oh my goodness, he's like built like, whew, he's like really built. And very, very articulate. Him and his two other lady doctors, female doctors, were presenting it today, and just incredible. Like that, So that's what he's trying to show in terms of biological markers that decisions you're making are good, and in terms of how your body's responding. So, because have I told you this, Scott, about my glorious death?
You have, but you haven't told our listeners.
Just to summarize, I've been foretold, I know this to be true, that I will have amazing health and vitality all my days until my glorious death on September 15th, 2075, 2:05 p.m. And in this death, me and my beloved Tesla, the one I'm driving right now, 2013 Model S, we take this plunge off the top of Going to Sun Road, and then we end up that our lights, my eyes dim to nothing as that Tesla logo dims to nothing at the same instant. And then we breathe our last. Oh, I love it.
You did a show where you sang it.
Corolla will live to February 15th, 2077. We'll die at 1:15 in the afternoon. Yeah.
Wow. So how did you get this information? Where did this revelation come from?
Dream.
Oh, nice.
Dream. That's and also cool. the song lyric, "Dying in my sweet Tesla's arms, dying in my sweet Tesla's arms. My baby's got my back. I'm on a one-way track. I'll be dying in my sweet Tesla's arms."
But I definitely think metaphysics, Einstein, eerie movement of objects at a distance. I think we influence reality. I think our thought and our observation and our interaction does shape reality to some extent. And yeah, I think life and death are things that probably more than we're aware of, we have control over
Yes.
in a lot of different ways.
Influence, right? If you think of
Right.
a placebo effect, right? You're taking a medicine and you think it's going to do you good and it does you good, right? It improves your symptoms, right?
Hmm.
So your mind has tremendous power over your is a tremendous contributor to your health. But somatic experiencing would say your body has a tremendous influence to settle your mind and say, hey, brother, you're okay. Hey, sister, you're safe. Hey, you're at home. You're comfortable, relaxed, safe in this body. And then that's the beautiful state where everything comes easier. Movement comes easier, thinking comes easier, memory works better, your microbiome is working to its maximum. All 50 trillion cells and 500
Wow.
trillion viruses and bacteria are all in a beautiful symbiotic relationship. And you are
So if
connected.
somebody wants to learn more, where
Yeah.
like we're running out of time here,
Yes.
where would they start, Al? Like what would you recommend? You've gone through this amazing journey, not at the end, of course, not at the end. You know when the end is, you're not there. How would somebody else start on this journey?
Okay, Dr. Aimie Apigian, who I just was talking about, I just got off her thing. She has this 21-day program she's offering. I'm sure it would be an amazing program. Dr. Peter Levine, I just took a course with him and Dr. Diane Poole Heller. Either of those are really, really good resources, either of them. And they have tons and tons of free resources. And then they have programs that you can buy. In Dr. Amy's case, I've never bought one of her programs. I'm sure they'd be amazing because she's a beautiful, caring human being who's very articulate and really likes to kind of trigger you, not in a good way, encourage you emotionally to kind of share the feelings, to embody the love kind of thing and the care and compassion. She's beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah,
So just to interrupt. So that learners like you and I who
yeah,
like to read and take courses, that's great. But let's say we have somebody out there who's at a point in their life where their personality is not doesn't have a good jibe with that kind of learning, or they're not that type of learner. Is there something that those people can do or experience right now to get started on that pathway?
sure. They can come. They can. We're going to post a link to this show on the Acapellas website. Okay. This is the primer. You watch this, and then if that resonates, then you'll know where to go. You can contact me directly, or you can contact Dr. Peter Levine, or you can contact Dr. Diane Poole Heller, or you can contact Dr. Aimie Apigian. What's her name again? All right. Oh my goodness, I forgot her name. Apigian, Dr. Aimie Apigian, MD. Okay,
Oh, that's
so
good.
how about Scott? Will you do that, Scott?
I will
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm gonna get some little bit of rest, and then I'll do that. But I
Okay.
do want to say to our listeners that this is something that you and I've been talking about in a nebulous kind of way, but pulling it together. And I think that Al's offered before to run a little bit of a course for those of us who might be interested in learning some more. And like Al says, he's not an expert and isn't a fully graduated shaman yet. But he's working on it. But he's got a lot to share. I've been friends with Al for a long time, and I've seen him go through. When I met him, he was much older than he is now, and he was stiffer. He was more tight. When he was talking about
Hey,
the
Scott,
response, where you tighten up.
can I interject? You know what the
Yeah,
black badge course is, what's required with the black
yeah,
badge course. I went to
absolutely.
do it when I was 40, 43, 44 years old, and I was
Yeah.
in pain all weekend. I couldn't lift my
Oh,
arms. It was just like it was terrible, right? And I was trying to golf time too, and I couldn't swing, and my leg was sore and all that kind of thing. And for me,
oh,
I'm not saying this is for everybody, but when I got where I had a 30-day trial of eating as a vegan, as a
yeah.
plant-based eater. through Rip Esselstyn, the engine number 2 diet, which I was encouraged to or thought to do that because of knives over forks. And I tried for 15 days, 2 weeks, and I felt way better. Pain in my elbows and knees and shoulders went away. So it was just like, and I said, all right, I'm in. This is amazing. So you might think it's not for it's not for you, and maybe it's not for you. Rumi said there's 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the earth. So maybe this isn't your way. But if you haven't tried it, I'd encourage you to try it. Just try it for 2 weeks. If you need some encouragement, call me. Maybe I'll bring you a vegetarian. I'll make you a tofu scramble. I'm a real good tofu scramble.
Oh,
Or
that sounds wonderful.
vegetarian chili. I'll make you an amazing vegan meal to assist you in trying great food that makes you feel wonderful after you eat it.
Fantastic. And I think we'll leave it there this week.
Yes.
I think we'll be talking more about this as we go on. And
Great.
look for an opportunity. We haven't got it all worked out yet, but and part of that was because I got sick for a couple of weeks there really badly. But Al is willing, or we're working on him, to have a little get together, an online course maybe where we can share some things and talk more about these things, and people like me can try it out and see how we feel about it, and if it makes us feel better. So, right, Al, that's maybe something coming up.
Wrap us out of here, Scott. What's the phrase?
I will. From my good friend, the acapellist Alan Friesen, and myself, Scott Sweetman, wish you all an exceptional week, and we'll see you back here next Thursday night, same time, same place. Be well, be happy, and live a good life.